Good morning, everyone. Again, Varel here, Flow Roofing, and it looks like my phone only has 53 minutes left of memory, so I'll save you that whole hour if possible. But I was listening to one of Dmitry Lipinski's videos. He was interviewing a Texas roofer about a bill that had some strong feels for the industry. To not this video is not meant to like review their situation, which is they're trying to figure out licensing, and there's like some possible foul play and insurance pushing people to do licensing, which I mean, I don't understand the entire picture. Obviously, Oregon, Pacific Northwest is like 99% retail, which, Texas probably trends higher on the majority insurance work. And so the big debate with the bill was to whether or not to get Texas to have licensed contractors or not. But the big issue was that they were looking at having like a 10-year barrier to entry in roofing, which whatever you believe, wherever you come from, I feel like is splitting the majority of the industry, and we're not able to really comment on it because here in Oregon we have such a it's more buttoned up, I feel like, and literally the wild west in Texas. But again, like, I only have objective video content to kind of review based on what I see going on over there. So but what's all going on over here on the West Coast, I feel like, is just good old fashioned natural aging. We might get a little bit of wind in the gorge on the coast, but for the most part, occasional limb falls off, but like, it's all natural aging in steep slope world, even in low slope, and so just had refined our repairs and maintenance documentation. We want to send out to different property owners around best practices on what we believe, and it's NRCA guided with manufacturer guidelines included, heavily influenced, at least. Really, the consensus on caring for any roof is just keeping it clean, doing biannual inspections with a minimum once required. And that's the theme of this video, which is to go over warranty details, exclusions that apply for the systems that we install, our workmanship related stuff as well, to make sure that property owners understand what they're getting or not getting when it comes to their roof. And unfortunately, there's a whole list of exclusions. I'll read some, and from our perspective, like the second one, this is one of our competing manufacturers as well, lists improper ventilation as a part of their exclusion right off the bat. Okay, if your contractor can't provide documentation on why they did the ventilation, how they did, and the numbers don't match, and or it wasn't installed correctly, obviously from a workmanship standpoint, but workmanship also extends to the why you're installing, where you're installing, as much as what you're installing, where you're installing. The why is expanding on basically the math, really. The simple algebra, your 18 NFA for the ridge vents, or your 38 to 60 RVO NFAs, your box pearl vents basically, and then your intake as well. So without proper ventilation detail, or at least proof of how it was done and why it was done, these exclusions, these fine print details on all your warranties for your steep slope across the board for all shingle manufacturers, are designed to save the manufacturer's butts. And it's completely not in the right, it's not in the best interest of the property owner. It's always in the best interest of the manufacturer. The house always wins, which isn't ideal, right? And so we'll expand on this more. I feel like we'll have a good ramble this morning around the aspects of warranty details and all the different things. The best warranty, by far, the classic, is the warranty you don't need, right? So that basically starts the entire system off on a good note. The best way to ensure proper warranty details for the warranty you'll never need is by getting a trained manufacturer installed, highly local, not subcontractor focused roofing company to make sure that they have ongoing training programs, they have quality control, they have in-house oversight of the entire installation process to make sure that your project is buttoned down, documented properly, so that if it does come to a warranty issue and there is actual product failure, you have all the things you need to stand a chance to get whatever it is that they put on paper. And so there are prorated terms in these warranties for asphalt and even membrane. There's transferability language, again, but I'm not a lawyer, I don't pretend to be one. By starting your system off properly, and I mean, it says in here as well, exclusions for and around defects or failure of flashing or metalwork is not a part of your shingle warranty, not even a part of your system warranty. And defects or failure or improper installation of your flashing detail, regardless, if you get the Cadillac of any shingle, if you have the best installer of the shingle, if it's not flashed properly, your skylight's going to leak, your cricket's going to leak, your roof to wall, your step flashing, whatever, is going to have issues, okay? And those things can go overlooked really easily. So I was just on new construction yesterday, top of 3-story, backside of an apartment complex, no one would ever see it. Step flashing is not even fastened, right? It's sliding down from the shingle. So these little bits and pieces, they add up to a bigger system. People, the general public, maybe the vast majority of homeowners, for over a decade, hopefully almost half a lifetime, they're never having to worry or think about their roof, okay? And then it finally gets on the radar, or maybe they have an issue with some sort of ice dam. Again, that's not very common here in the Pacific Northwest, in the Willamette Valley at least. It's starting to get more frequent. We had a big ice storm that created some havoc a couple years back. A little more common for everyone up in the Central Cascades, up around Bend, for ice dam related stuff. But maintenance is universally, we touched on this just now, but maintenance is universally recognized as the best preventative measure for properly extending life of any roofing system. And it's not just documenting the roof, but it's keeping the roof clean. And so here there's a big talking point around here in the Northwest. People confuse algae protection in the fine print of the warranty with moss protection. Moss and algae are completely different species, and people often misconstrue moss and algae. So people think they're getting a 25-year algae protection. They think they're going to have moss for 25 years. You could have moss start growing within the first year if you're heavily shaded in the right forested area of the Northwest. What you want to do is try to avoid power washing that shit or brushing it off too hard. Here, in this exclusion of this warranty, this is some bullshit. It says, exclusion for a limited lifetime warranty. Traffic on the roof for any reason. You can't even put fucking Christmas lights up without possibly voiding your warranty, right? So if you have, and this is the same language across the board for all these manufacturers. This is just one that kind of pissed me off a little bit. Like, pulling it up, gutter cleaning can void your shingle warranty. How are they going to prove you were cleaning gutters? I don't know, right? And generally cleaning your gutters when the temperature is pretty low, it's not going to really damage the shingle that much. But if they find out, you're screwed. Moss removal or debris removal, even maintaining your roof, can void your warranty, which is basically them hopefully pushing all property owners to use their original installer to maintain the roof. That way, you know that they're not going to fuck up the roof because they have your best interest at heart. They don't want you to have to deal with this. They don't want to deal with it. It seemed like ice damming is obviously part of the exclusions. There's a bunch of other stuff as well. Impact of foreign objects. It really vandalism, right? So this is on the shingle side, and we'll touch it on some other items. One of the other ones here we'll go through in a second is going to be penetrations. So installing it correctly in the beginning, your workmanship warranty is going to be tested in the first rain. Everyone is, maybe the third, fourth, or fifth rain, if there was a workmanship issue, could show if it's very light. We've seen new installs not have proper sealant on exposed fasteners. Roof system was good, squared, snapped up, cleaned up good, and not having the right fastener seals around flashing transitions, roof to wall skylights, finished work, roof to wall, can have the show the fastest, basically. And then obvious workmanship related issues, not having your stagger right, not having your stack and your racking correct, how the shingles are stacked on the roof, basically, is a pretty common issue for workmanship related things. Not being square, really, too. Crews, I was proud of them yesterday. Crews found some manufacturer defected shingles. And I was like, holy shit. Project manager sends a picture. He's like, hey, crew found this. I'm like, how many bundles? It was a couple squares worth of defects. And it wasn't that the granules weren't sticking. It wasn't that the shingle was falling apart. The key lane of the upper part of the laminate had fallen down and or was glued originally from the manufacturer, almost like a 1/4 inch low. And so if you would have looked at the shingle in the line, you would have seen this tooth hanging down. And no one on a new roof got time for that. And so I was stoked to have the crew see that instead of just put it in going too fast and then the project manager to report it. Obviously the supplier is going to go ahead and replace that through the manufacturer. The distributor is not going to sweat a couple squares worth of materials, but for us, it was a proud little moment that they actually were aware enough to see that difference in the product itself. I guess it was obvious enough. The picture is not something I could put during this video, but we tell the homeowner, though, and the homeowner automatically said, well, is the whole roof in jeopardy? And it was just this couple bundles there, which is really nice. So first time that's happened, though, in tens of thousands of bundles. It's like, okay, but we caught it, So what they could have done over time, though, is maybe if it didn't hit the laminate line correctly, the tooth could have slid down, and then you would have seen, obviously, that the shingle would have fell apart, even on a walkable roof, or if, for whatever reason, maybe if there was chimney work, for instance, which is something that could have avoided the warranty originally, but if that person would have stepped on that particular area, it could have broke the shingle apart prematurely. Generally, shingles are pretty tough. So there are wind exclusions and right start periods and original manufacturer extended warranty periods within the first 10 or 15 years. And there are exclusions around commercial versus residential qualifications in steep slope shingle language. So this is the point why I wanted to record the video, is that Dimitri was interviewing this Texas guy about the bill that they were talking about, and the one of the key points Dimitri brought up was that there's a significant difference, in the residential versus the commercial language. And to see the actual performing life of these shingle products, you look to the commercial side, because manufacturers understand there's less property turnover, ownership turnover, where they would have to honor the product warranty. So they shrink the actual functional lifespan, and they don't do that for residential. A little bit of a red flag, right? So when you have a commercial property, your investment horizon's longer, you your ROI is in like a buy and hold strategy. I'm not a commercial property owner yet, but I can understand that the ROI of these bigger assets is in a long-term play as inflation and all the other different all the different factors start playing out. So for residential though, these manufacturers, your top 5 all understand that home ownership turnover is a lot more frequent, like 7 to 10 years on average. And then again, that the proper warranty turnover documentation isn't done properly in their warrantable periods. So say you're a property owner and you get a roof, and 10 years down the road, you're not even thinking about your roof. Life has gone on. You've had so much happen in 10 years. The roof still looks good. You're not even thinking about it. Why would I need to transfer? You're not thinking in like, I should, this would be a separate video, I guess, for someone in the home services industry that has all the different trades under them. But you're probably going to have to do the same thing, I could imagine, for your HVAC. There might even be language in your water pump. And I haven't dug into any of those details, but you should be looking at that for your roof warranty, right? So that your next property owner, your family, whatever, has that same coverage, and it's going to add value. It's a net added value to the next property owner. So it would almost be like a selling point. What's the point of getting these fancy on paper 50-year warranties if you don't even transfer them right? So again, back to the best warranties, warranty you don't need. These 50-year warranties are and it's more recently recognized as I've been listening to all these other industry leaders, that the shingle warranties are only as good as the workmanship warranties, because otherwise you'll go through a 6 to 24 month, and we haven't had any product claims. So I'm speaking from anecdotal stories of others, but you'll go through a 6 to 12 month warranty claim on the products, and you'll get yourself denied if there's any of these exclusions. And we'll hit penetrations here in a sec. Solar panels, satellite dishes, stovepipes, other alterations after the application of the shingles. Okay, so if you're doing an awning on the back porch, or if you're doing an addition, all that shit wipes it away. So documentation is the single biggest insurance against any of these warranty claims, because then at that point, like, part of what your workmanship warranty should include, or at least refer to or have on file to have access to, is the pictures of the finished product. And we do our own final inspections after the crews submit their pictures, and we'd like to meet our crews on site during the day of the final walkthrough, ideally to try to hit any sort of finished detail, right? So I make sure the gutters are perfectly clean, the bushes are solid, to check all the ice and water detail on the penetrations always. So every flow roof, doesn't matter what manufacturer, is going to get your ice and water on penetrations, valleys. And we give the people in the valley here, the Willamette Valley, the option to add it at the eaves, because it's not required at code. So that's always something you can add on, but it's not required. Your ice and water detail should go on the decking, underneath the drip edge, and underneath the synthetic, in that order, which is our stance on the drip edge debate. But and it should go 24 inches past the warm wall detail. So if you have like a 1 foot eave, a 36-inch roll will get you 2 feet past. You might have to add more if you have a 2 or 3 foot eave to make sure. So you might do 2 rolls past, right, with a 4 or 6 inch lap. Basically, the ice and water has to lap over itself with that seam, 4 to 6 inches. But these warranties are designed not to protect you. They're to protect the product manufacturer. Keep in mind, okay? So you think you're all warm and cozy with your fancy warranty. Your warranty is only as good, in my opinion, as the workmanship of the roof, which extends to how long the company's been in business, what's the reputation of the company, what's the company doing to protect workmanship or get better at workmanship and training, and get in to ensure those details. I don't want to say that flow is the end all be all solution. And there's companies that have been in business twice, 3, 4 times longer than Flow, 100 years compared to our 8, right? But how are they scaling, right? You could have a 10, 20-year-old company, but they're a paper contractor. And I had this experience. I started as a paper contractor my first year. You basically, just sub out the work, right? It's the cop out. It's the easy move. It's the lack of accountability. It's the lazy approach to roofing that you get for so many of these bigger companies. And they're the ones with the most reviews because they have a system that filters out the good and the bad and the ugly. So they are literally just glorified sales organizations where you're going to get individuals that come in there to your house to basically tell you exactly what you want to hear. And at that point, you'll say, well, that was a nice young man. And they sound like they look at all these reviews, and you got to dig in to see what the structure is if you really want to understand what you're expecting to get. The subcontractors of those paper contractors generally are going to have a reduced workmanship period, if any at all, and are only going to be subject to the GCs, these paper contractors, the general contractors, insurance bond requirements. Maybe they generally don't, those GCs don't even require manufacturer certifications at all. They're only in it for the turn and burn sale. It's all about the money. Whereas if you want to be full service and you want to create relationships, be a part of the community, and do roofing correctly, the harder way is to be full service, to offer the repairs, the maintenance, to do the small things, to be full service and not just focusing on the replacements. Our biggest client comes from a $100 downspout request. Our biggest client, who has almost $1 billion portfolio, comes from a $100 downspout request. The dude met me on site and shook hands. I think I was even 5 minutes late. I apologized. And he was just looking for someone to give him the reel on what was the status of his roofs. And we have another client actually who can't do the drone stuff because it's raining a little bit this morning. But by stepping up and giving people a realistic visual and documented report on their systems, fine-tooth comb, cross your T's, dot your I's, visual representation, timeline, budget report, all the different things of what's going on with their property. And for single family, it's a charge service. For commercial people, it's kind of a complementary bridge of trust that we know if you're coming to us for repairs on your system on the commercial side, we're one of the first calls, which is awesome. This is one of the reasons why I really like repairs, because if someone's looking for a roof repair, they're not looking for the best roof replacement company. They're looking for, where are we ranking in the Google sphere of all the industry here in Portland. It means that if someone's looking for roof repairs, we're generally ranking pretty decently to have that first conversation to see if we can add value or prevent unnecessary expenses. And that's one of the reasons why I love repairs. I think about that client because we have 5 or 6 of them, and they are the essence of why I love roofing, because they're so fucking smart. They're savvy, highly inquisitive, technical investor minds, where some of them come from engineering backgrounds. One of them had sold like an overseas energy, like maybe something along the lines of like desalination plant, and had a massive exit and needed to plant capital in commercial properties where they could cash flow and have an ROI. And I thought it was an awesome strategy. Just to hear him talk, I was just like, you sir, are incredible. And only because the way that they look at the world is through a different lens than the single family homeowners, who are also amazing people, the fabric of society, the people that turn this world into a life worth living. They're the humor, the salt of the earth, the sarcasm, right? The hardest working. And I mean, those are my people, really. Like, I was feeding everyone dough and pizza just less than 6 years ago. And I think my last pie was in 2021. And I didn't even know it. I don't even remember the last pizza that I cooked. I was like so focused on a completely different goal at that point. It wasn't like a relief. We'll have a different video. It wasn't like I threw the peel down or threw it into the fire. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was just, I didn't even realize. I think I was even trying to do another event and it just didn't happen. And I said something along the lines of, like I usually do, that it wasn't meant to be. And why force it, right? So it's, the universe has got this amazing predestined journey written out for all of us, that if you don't flow with it, at least the way I see it, then things can go wrong. And so one of the reasons why I'm on this path with you guys, I believe that there's a reason why I fell into roofing, and it's so much more purposeful than I think a lot of the people outside the industry think. We're protecting families, which is the kind of the easy cliche go-to. There's something written that I haven't completely understood yet and or uncovered. And so I'm on this path to see where it takes me, like where pizza went. And in a lot of ways, every aspect of previous education, all the people we've met along the way, the pandemic even, for better or worse, all played into this story that we're all still reading, right? And we don't know when the last sentence, the last chapter, the last section, the last copy of the book is going to be written. You know, I think that's part of the excitement of the adventure, is that you just keep getting to write your own story. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurialism, being an entrepreneur, is you just don't know. So anyway, back to warranty, right? So the best warranties a warranty don't need. The exclusions out the ass on these products are designed in the manufacturer's best interest, not the property owners. There's a prorated clause in there that is less of a limitation, which prorated means that after 20 years, manufacturers understand that if you're not going to get the Cadillac of the warranty, their warranty, which again is to help them sell more product, again, not to protect the property owners more so that they can sell more shit, not to protect the property owners anymore, so you can spend more money to think that you're going to get a better warranty, but it's all in the best interest of the manufacturer. So if you like spending more money on shit that's going to age prematurely and probably not even qualify for the warranty that you think is going to be your peace of mind, or it's not like Toyota's 100,000 mile 10-year powertrain guarantee. You're not going to get to replace your tranny. It's not like the 60,000 mile tire guarantee. You're not going to get to replace your tires. It's going to be prorated, and if anything at all, if they find any workmanship related, a crooked nail, right, or an underdriven or an overdriven nail, you're screwed. One out of thousands. One, you're done. So Workmanship is the highest liability curving warranty related detail that any property owner has to consider. So there's a trend, and part of what, not in this video that Dimitri was talking about with the Texas guy, but there's a trend in roofing where when you get to a certain point, companies, and we're looking into this, we're not there yet, but because it's expensive, really, if you ever have to, you have to have this set fund, which I would love to work on, where the roofing company can self-warranty the product as goodwill to protecting property owners from these monopolistic manufacturers that are not in your best interest. So instead of putting your property owner in a 6 to 24 month warranty back and forth battle, and you get upset at the end because ultimately it's always going to end in the house's best interest. Excuse me. I've been watching these other industry leaders. They're Texas, Florida. They're all insurance related. They have these massive funds set aside, and they're actually really more inspiring because they know all this stuff, and they've had homeowners go through the shit. And I'm just like, oh, it's so smart. We'll get there. Self-warranting the roofing products in-house. So you have complete accountability, both on the workmanship related aspects of the install, but then you give the homeowners, the property owners, better confidence by saying, this is our manufacturer product guarantee of your warranty. So there's a bunch of different reasons why they're doing it. One, the manufacturers are also, they're selling more product. Okay. They're selling the product warranty they get money from. They sell the accessories that give you the better warranty they get money from. And then they don't have to honor those warranties, right? So they're saving money across the board. And they're, again, just trying to get out from underneath these things. You can imagine that if a roofing contractor was able to warranty the product, the accessories, and the workmanship, that if there was an issue, you'd have a faster experience. That's the whole thought process behind self-warrantying the roof, is that you get a faster solution, a better solution, and oftentimes from a company that wants your success versus a company that is only taking care of their investors and their boards. All these manufacturers have a parent company. The parent company is held by maybe a private company. Those private companies are publicly traded. Those are your BlackRocks of the world. And you're this single family homeowner, hardworking man or woman who just wants a good system, right? We've replaced one roof where we were like, yep. And it was from that original first year where I was like, look at this. This sub has multiple different issues. Let's go ahead. Let's do the right thing. Let's just replace the whole thing. Let's not turn this into a goose chase, a finger point and match. He said, she said, bullshit. Let's just take care of the homeowner. Okay. And you have to do what's right. You have to. But I'll tell you right now, these manufacturers do not care about your best interest. They're not in it for the relationship. They're not in it for anything but their bottom line. Okay. So this is steep slope. Okay. And then, so now we get into metal and membrane. So again, we don't have that much time, but we're getting there. So NDL stands for no dollar limit. So in your membrane warranties, typically they're going to be only for, there's one or two manufacturers that have these NDL warranties for your residential, but typically they're only going to be for commercial. So your commercial NDL means no dollar limit. There's a transferability period where the contractor holds it for a little bit in the beginning, and then the manufacturer takes it from there. The NDL warranties on these systems, they're a little more expensive. Systems could be 6-7 figures. If they have that warranty period, their NDL is basically a confidence factor that your property is going to be good for the 10, 20, 30 years, whatever typically the system, that the membrane thickness that you purchase. And for metal, it's called weather tight. And these are third-party and or manufacturer-backed and inspected systems, okay? That's the biggest difference in the NDL membrane and metal warranties versus the asphalt, is that you don't get, unless it's commercial, you don't get manufacturer representation on the installation where you do on membrane and metal. So again, that's one of the things that adds into the total cost. But again, you're talking about assets, tens of millions plus dollar in property value. So it's worth it to bring someone out there to vet it. So, and a lot of the specifications that we're looking at for remodel, new construction as well, they call for that manufacturer. They require that manufacturer. All the architects are tight with the manufacturers to make sure that their GCs and their subs all get these things pushed through, so that the investors come back to the architecture firms to make sure that they push more properties to develop, which is going to be, and I'm just speculating, I don't know, I'm just a little old pizza plant dude in Portland doing roofs, that when there is this inflection point in construction, which is going to be some sort of reaction to real estate and interest rates of macroeconomic factors, geopolitical, who knows, that the way that these GCs and these new construction people operate, it's going to completely change. So kind of lost my train of thought there. But let's say that this is part one of warranty explanations for steep slope and low slope. Again, the best warranty is the warranty you don't need, by starting out to getting a manufacturer approved installation company, because for those that do believe in manufacturer warranties as good as you think they might be, if they're not certified, if they're not going through ongoing training, don't have the right insurance requirements, this is 2025. This will be the first year that Flow is going to be required to have a $5 million general liability policy. Last year, I think we touched a $3 million liability policy, and our lawyer was like, "Damn, like you're getting pushed into a $5 million." He said, "Your $5 million general liability policy is usually what you would need for like maybe a $30 million project." And I'm like, "Well, this is what they're telling us, And so your basic general liability policy for most roofing contractors is just going to be a single occurrence $1 million general liability policy, which is going to have like a $500,000 something payout. I just don't completely understand. I've never had to deal with it. So again, the best insurance is the insurance you don't need, and it's all a scam because it's just paperwork that you pay for and that just sits there, but it's so necessary, right? And so in the commercial space now, we've bumped it up to the $5 million policy so that we can make sure that our clients know that their property is being protected properly. The bonding goes up with that as well. And then you have to have multi-state. We just got our licensing over in Idaho for a couple projects. And again, for those top 5 clients, their portfolio is so widespread. It's like we need to be able to have the ability to send crews out to go and take care of these guys. So that being said, that's my 2 cents on warranties, right? They're kind of bullshit. I would like to get to the point where we can self-perform. So team showing up, and we're going to get things flowing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to holler. Take care. Ciao.